By April 2026, the signs of a global economic stall were everywhere. Thousands of flights were grounded, travelers stranded in major hubs, and consumer markets began to reflect a growing sense of panic. This chart tracks the immediate cause of that panic. In just 5 weeks, the price of Brent crude oil climbed from $72 a barrel to over $109. These prices are the direct result of a rapid military escalation between the United States, Israel, and Iran that began on February 28th. U.S. and Israeli strikes focused on high-value targets, eliminating top Iranian leadership, including the supreme leader. The loss of the regime's central command structure pushed the region into total unpredictability. This decapitation of the Iranian state transformed a regional military engagement into a direct and immediate threat to the global energy supply chain. In retaliation for the strikes, Iran bypassed a conventional naval response. Instead, they moved to close the Strait of Hormuz. At its narrowest point, the waterway is only 21 miles wide, yet it facilitates the movement of 1/5 of the world's oil supply. Nations across Asia are particularly vulnerable, with the Philippines relying on this corridor for 98% of its crude oil imports. The United States maintains overwhelming conventional military superiority, but by focusing on this specific 21-mile gap, Iran has used geography to hold the global economy hostage. Iran is enforcing this blockade without a massive conventional navy. Instead, they are using asymmetric warfare to control the water. They are releasing spiked naval mines into the shipping lanes and launching targeted drone attacks on civilian vessels. They have even begun demanding passage fees from commercial ships attempting to cross the strait. The reach of these attacks has expanded beyond the strait. Recent strikes have targeted petrochemical complexes in Kuwait, Bahrain, and the UAE, threatening the region's broader energy infrastructure. In response, President Trump has issued a strict ultimatum. Iran has until Tuesday at 8 p.m. to surrender and reopen the strait. If the deadline is missed, the U.S. has threatened to destroy Iranian bridges and power plants, effectively paralyzing the country's civilian infrastructure while seizing its oil reserves. This dynamic has turned the conflict into a high-stakes game of chicken between military annihilation and global economic collapse. Diplomatic efforts are currently at a stalemate. The U.S. and regional mediators initially proposed a temporary 45-day ceasefire to restore shipping. Iran rejected that offer immediately. They instead sent a 10-point list of demands to the United States, via mediators in Pakistan. The demands include a permanent end to the war, compensation for financial losses, and full jurisdiction over the strait. At the United Nations, a Bahraini resolution intended to authorize military force to protect shipping is losing its teeth. At the UN, China and Russia are actively blocking the use of force. China is the world's largest buyer of the oil currently trapped in the Gulf, and their government cannot risk a wider war that might destroy the wells they rely on. While the UN stalls, foreign allies like the UK are focusing on domestic threats, having uncovered multiple Iran-backed security plots over the last year. This paralysis at the UN suggests that international institutions struggle to act when superpowers are forced to prioritize their own energy survival over collective security. The strict Tuesday 8 p.m. deadline for an ultimatum is rapidly approaching, and yet no diplomatic agreement has been reached between the parties. This illustrates the risk premium hitting the energy market. The base is the actual cost of production. The red block slamming down represents uncertainty. Speculation drives up prices based purely on the threat of supply disruption, penalizing consumers before any military action occurs. Even if the strait reopens tomorrow, security of global maritime trade is no longer a given. Major logistics firms are already adjusting their long-term insurance and shipping routes to account for future shutdowns. Global powers are now reassessing their reliance on this single corridor. This crisis has demonstrated that having a domestic economy depend on a choke point halfway across the world is a significant strategic liability. In modern warfare, the ultimate weapon isn't a stealth jet or a ballistic missile, it's geography. Whoever controls the choke points controls the globe.